In 1857, Jules Antoine Lissajous set up an experiment similar to this, and as a result, gave us Lissajous figures, which are an example of complex harmonic motion. So today I'm going to look at what Lissajous figures are, particularly in light of the experiment that he did, how you can set up your own figures in the oscilloscope, and an example of how we use Lissajous figures in physics. So stay tuned. Well, what I have here is in essence a similar setup to what Lissajous set up himself. He had a light source and two tuning forks and some mirrors that were attached to the tuning forks. Now in my case, my light source is a laser, and that laser is fired onto a tuning fork over here, which has a small mirror attached to it, and then that is bounced back over to this tuning fork back here, which is then bouncing it onto the screen, and you can see the spot on the screen. But what he did was he made sure that those tuning forks were at 90 degrees to each other. That one's vertical and that one's horizontal. So before we start, let's have a look what we see on the screen if we allow only one tuning fork to vibrate. Let's have a look. Let's start with the vertical one. Well, we're getting a lovely vertical line. That makes sense. My tuning fork is bending backwards and forwards like that and causing the light beam to go in that direction, and we're getting a nice light path. It's an example of simple harmonic motion. Now let's have a look at the other one. Well, that makes sense. It's going horizontal. Again, because the tuning fork is moving backwards and forwards in this plane, and as a result, we're getting it moving in that direction. But what happens if I allow both of them to ring at the same time? Let's see. Now we're getting an interesting pattern, and that's an example of a Lissajous figure. But the Lissajous pattern we get depends on two variables. The first is the frequency, or specifically the individual frequencies, whether the tuning forks are exactly the same frequency or they have different frequencies. And the second thing is whether the two signals are in phase or not in phase with each other. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look a little bit deeper in the mathematics behind the two simple harmonic motions that are occurring in Lissajous figures. Now, both signals are examples of simple harmonic motion. And being examples of simple harmonic motion is we can represent them as a sine wave, or it's a sinusoidal pattern. And here you can see my red and my green are my two signals. In this case, they're both going left to right or right to left. But what we are going to be doing is mapping one against the other, one on the x-axis and one on the y-axis. And so when we map those two together, we have two equations that will represent their relative positions in terms of x and y. As a result, those two equations are called parametric equations. Let's play with that and see the pattern that we get if we were to map one against the other. Now, these two waves are in phase with each other. They have the same frequency and the same amplitude. And so what I want to do is just examine a couple of points and then show you using Desmos how they would add together in terms of the parametric equations. So the top and the bottom, let's start from the 0 position. So you can see that the position here at this 3 and at this -3 is exactly the same. In other words, they're in the 0 position. So x is 0, y is 0. So if we were to plot that, we would get this position here. What about at that position up the top here? Here we have a maximum, and here we also have a maximum. So if we make both values of a maximum equal to 1, let's say that's the amplitude, a 1, then we're going to get a point that is here. And similarly, if both are in the -1 position, then both will map in here. So you can see I start to develop a pattern here, and Desmos allows me to now add those two waves together. And so we're going to get a pattern that looks like this. We're getting here a Lissajous figure that is in essence simply a straight line. What if they're 180 degrees out of phase? Let's examine. Again, if I were to map basically the 0 position, we still get 0, 0 as our 2 points. But now if I map one against the other, when this top one is at a maximum of 1, the bottom one is at a maximum of -1. So what we're going to get is a value that is going to look like this. This is going to be our position here. Similarly, if I map the bottom one with a maximum 1, this one is a -1, and we get a spot here. And again, if we add them together, we're going to get a pattern that looks like this. a straight line again, but down the top. So this tells us two signals are out of phase, even though they have exactly the same frequency. Let's do one more, and then we're going to play around with a few of them. Now, as you can see now, I have two waves, but they are not 180 or 0 out of phase. They are 90 degrees out of phase, or 270. If we plot them now, we get, obviously, in this case, it's a maximum for the top. So a maximum of 1, the bottom is at 0, so we're going to get a point that is here. Similarly speaking, if I do the next point, which is this point right here, you can see this one is a maximum of a -1, but this one is at, well, it's at 0. So I'm going to get this point right here. And then, of course, I'm going to also get these points as well. When one is maximum, the other one is 0. When one is -1, the other one is at 0. If I did that consistently, I would find I'm going to get a pattern that is a circle. So in this case, the parametric equations of 90 degrees out of phase gives us a circle in terms of a Lissajous figure. Now, what I want to do now is show you if I now allow the phase to change with respect to time, because these are pictures of waves, but waves are actually moving. I can allow Desmos to change the phase with respect to time, and what we get is this pattern here. You can see we're getting a circle that is rotating either clockwise or anti-clockwise from the top, though in actual fact that's not what's happening. Now, what would happen if I then change the frequency of one of them? So I'm going to change it so it's now a 1-to-2 relationship. So in other words, the frequency down the bottom is twice as much. If I now show you the Lissajous figure as respect to time, they start in phase, of course, so we're definitely going to get a point that is in the center, in this position, but it's going to be changing with respect to other positions, and this is what we're going to get. And you'll see here we get this butterfly, and the butterfly represents basically two frequencies whose frequencies are in a relationship of 2:1. Now, how do I show that? Well, if I now draw a line that is horizontal across my Lissajous figures, you'll see I cross it at 4 places. But if I do it vertically, you'll see I cross it at 2 places. So as a result, that's a relationship of 4:2, and that is a relationship of 2:1. So the green one is actually mapping in terms of along the x direction in that case. If I now were to play that with respect to time, in other words, the phase would change with respect to time, I'm going to get a pattern that looks like this. That relationship of 2:1 with the cutting of the lines is going to stay true here, but you can see now what we're getting is a rotating pattern. And the same is to go if I have a different particular combination. So, for example, I can change our relationship is to 2:3. So let me do that. I'll change the top one to 2 and the bottom one to 3, and I get this pattern in terms of the 2:3 relationship. If I change, let's say, the top one to 3 is to 2, in other words, I just simply change the values, I get the same Lissajous figures, but it's just turned at 90 degrees. So you can see here, it's the same pattern, but it's just 90 degrees to the previous one. And finally, let's do a little bit more complex. Let's make it 6:7 relationship. So I'll make the bottom one 6 and the other one at 7, and in this case my pattern, again with respect to time, looks like this. So the relationship of the frequencies is a rational number, A over B, and that is equal to the number of lines that you cut horizontally and vertically, again one over the other. So that gives you a good introduction to the mathematics of Lissajous figures. Now let's see how we can generate them on an oscilloscope. So now what I want to do is I want to use my oscilloscope to examine Lissajous figures. Now, what do we need for a Lissajous figure? We basically need two signals with their own independent frequencies, and instead of mapping them out with respect to time, as is what's happening at the moment on my oscilloscope, we want to map them out or graph them with respect to each other, one on the X and one on the Y, just like my tuning forks where I had two vibrations, one vertical and one horizontal. Now, as you can see, I have two signals here, and both of them are in phase, and in this case, I've got them set to 500 Hertz each. But I want to map them out against each other. And so the way to do that with your oscilloscope, what we want to do is change that to XY. And the way to do that is the first thing you do is you take your time dial and you turn it all the way to XY. Now again, with the digital oscilloscope, you have a setting in the digital oscilloscope that allows you to map not, let's say, your Y with respect to time, but X versus Y. Now you can see I've got two lines here because they're both signals here. We get dual, so we're going to change my vertical mode to XY, and I'm going to ensure that the source is XY as well. Now just to be sure that we have two signals that are actually perpendicular to each other, you'll see if I mute one of them, we get a horizontal line, and of course I can position that to be nice in the center. So it's going left and right, and the other one, if I mute that one, turn that off and turn the other one here, that's completely vertical, just like my tuning fork. But of course, if we map them with respect to each other, we get this line. If I change the phase here, let's say I change it to a phase of 180 degrees, we're going to get a line again, but in this case, we're going to get a slope downwards because one's positive, whereas the other one's negative when they're both at a maximum position. Now at 90 degrees, based again on my animations, then you'll know that if one is at a maximum, one is at a minimum, and we're going to get a circle like so, and that's the same for 270. Anywhere in between, you're going to get a different ellipse. So what's going to happen if we change the phase with respect to time? Now I can do that, and I start by putting this as 0, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to allow the phase to change with respect to time by just holding the button in here, and then the phase is going to gradually change from 0 all the way to 360. Let's have a watch what happens. Now that has the appearance that it is rotating. So some of you may think, well, if you look from the top, it's moving clockwise. Some of you say it's moving anti-clockwise. Well, actually, it's not really rotating, but it has that visual image of it rotating, when actually, in fact, it's going from the vertical line to a circle and back to a vertical line again. Now, what if I change the frequency of one of them? Now remember, with Lissajous figures will have different shapes depending on the ratio of the frequencies. So if I have a ratio of, let's say, 1 to 2, and in that case what I'll do is I'll change my signal or amplifier 1 here, which is actually my second channel over here. I'm going to change that to 1000. And we get this figure. What's going to happen to this with respect to time? Again, it appears to rotate. Let's change this now to a 3 to 2 relationship. But as you know, when you have two waves that have different frequencies at different times in their path, their phase will be different with respect to time. They may start in phase in this position. That phase has changed at any particular position. So if I change that, you have the semblance of rotation like so. Let me do one last one, and that's a 3 to 1 relationship. Remember, 500 was one of them. Let's make our A 1500. I enter it, I get this, and again I change the phase. And I'll just pause there, because if you're an Australian, then you'll know that this is the symbol for the ABC. Again, it has the semblance of rotation. Now, what use is my Lissajous figures? Well, what I want to do now is I want to do some testing of something that has an unknown frequency. In this case, what I have here is a tuning fork that is put into a resonating box, which just amplifies the sounds. Basically, it's a bit of a resonance chamber here. Now, I know this is rated at 256 Hertz, but is it actually 256 Hertz? What if I were to take the signal of this sound and use that to compare it to 256 Hertz from my signal generator? And I can do that. I need to put my amplifier to actually pick up the microphone. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on a speaker. So in other words, what you'll get is the sound will be picked up and you'll hear it better. Now I can show you that it works by ignoring my channel A. Here's my signal, and if I place this, you can see it's vibrating. If I choose my timing fork, I get a sound here. It's not picked up, so I'm making it a little bit more sensitive. there is some signal that is coming as a result of some sort of interference, we won't worry about it because you still see it. So if I play this, you get your signal, and I'll adjust it like so, and you'll clearly see it's got a certain frequency. But what we're going to do is we're going to compare that to 256 Hertz from my other channel. So I'm going to go back to oscillation B, and I'm going to change that to 256, which is the value we should be getting, like so. And now I'm going to play it, and just in case you don't hear it, I do have it here, and I just you can actually hear the noise going on here. I'm going to turn that off again because I just want to concentrate on the one that we have here. Okay, so you hear it now. But now what we want to do is compare that with the other signal. So we go again, turn this to 0, and we got this at XY. And if you look very carefully, what do you see? You see the circle, so we're close, right? But the fact that the circle is turning means that the phase is changing, which means that the two frequencies are not identical. We want that circle to stop turning. And so that means we need to adjust our frequency of our amplifier to over here, and as a result, try to make it stationary. And let's see if I can do that. That's pretty close. I got 256.3. So what does that mean? It means that this system here, this tuning fork and the resonating chamber, actually has a frequency of 256.3 Hertz. Now, for the ordinary classroom use, that's pretty good. I don't have to necessarily throw this out. Let's see if I can do with another resonating chamber. And here I have a tuning fork that has a resonating chamber of 320, and we have 320 Hertz for my tuning fork. And let's see how precise that one was made. That's pretty good. And I've got 320.2 Hertz. So this is 320.2 Hertz as a chamber. So that's one example of using Lissajous figures where you're comparing an unknown frequency to a known frequency. It's much more precise than trying to listen out for beats, let's say by having the two play simultaneously and listening for the beat frequency. Though that is a method you could actually use if you want, but this is a better method. And in fact, many acoustic engineers use this to actually examine frequencies on different circuits and so forth. Well, I hope that has helped you understand Lissajous figures. Please like, share and subscribe. Please consider supporting me via Patreon to help me continue to produce physics content. My name is Paul from Physics High. Take care and bye for now.